today's video, I'd just like to share that 94% of my viewers aren't subscribed. So if you are feeling generous, be sure to drop a like and a sub, and let's get right into today's video. Thank you. Howdy, my name is Daxio, and this is Plugged In News. And in today's pin update, we have 2 ISIS suicide bombers killed 13 U.S. troops and 90 Afghans, as well as EU to discuss new COVID-related travel curbs on U.S. Let's get right into it. And for the first story today, it's absolutely sad, terrifying, terrible. I'll have a video later showing a little end clip of the explosion and what it looked like from a distance at least, but this is terrible. And this is coming from the dailymail.com from Jennifer Smith. 2 ISIS suicide bombers killed 13 U.S. troops and 90 Afghans. Let's get right into it. The U.S. is vowing to continue its Afghanistan evacuation mission despite ISIS killing 13 troops on Thursday in a double bombing at Kabul Airport, and has vowed to hunt down the terrorists responsible for the attack. President Biden addressed the nation at 5:30 p.m., nearly 8 hours after the 2 suicide attacks at Kabul Airport on Thursday, as criticism of his response to the crisis grew and furious Republicans called for him to be impeached or resign. There has been no White House statement in the 6 hours since the horrifying events unfolded, and all of Biden's events were canceled or postponed. The 13 troops include 11 Marines, 1 Navy medic, and at least 90 Afghans were killed on Thursday when the 2 bombs went off as the remaining Westerners in Kabul tried to get out. The first bomber at the Abbey Gate of the airport was wearing a vest and was being searched by troops when he detonated. The second was a car bomb attack at the Barron Hotel. It's unclear how the first bomber got through the Taliban checkpoints and close enough to the Marines to kill them. On Thursday, General Kenneth F. McKenzie, the commander on the ground, vowed that this dangerous evacuation effort would continue despite the growing threat from ISIS, and he said he will go after those responsible for the deadly blast. He said the U.S. military has Apache attack helicopters, MQ-9 Reaper drones, F-15 fighters, and AC-130 gunships flying over Afghanistan, and warned further attacks by the terrorists are imminent. So, before we continue reading, why didn't we use these when we were evacuating out of Afghanistan the first time, and why didn't we use these when the Taliban or ISIS was taking over Afghanistan for the most recently? Why didn't we use those? He's sitting here bragging, we have Apache attack helicopters, MQ-9 Reaper drones, F-15 fighters, and AC-130 gunships. Please. We expect these attacks to continue, General McKenzie said, saying he was particularly worried about another car bomb attack that could claim more troops' lives, and I'm pretty sure there was 2 more after these 2 bombings today. Despite the danger, he said there was no alternative but to have troops continue to search for people on the ground before they board flights, and that more than 100,000 have already been checked. 1,000 Americans remain in Afghanistan, but McKenzie says not all of them want to leave. He says the troops on the ground will work to get those who do not want to leave out, but that is becoming an increasingly unmanageable task given the risk to the troops and fast-approaching Taliban deadline to get out. Yeah, honestly, a terrible story. We'll have more developing on this as it continues. I mean, this whole Afghanistan situation is absolutely terrible. It's an embarrassment. That's all I can say. Anyways, here's the video, guys. Alright, and for the last article today, this is coming from Newsmax by, I can't find the author, but it's EU to discuss new COVID-related travel curbs on the United States. And it goes on to read, the European Union will discuss on Thursday whether to reintroduce travel restrictions on visitors from the U.S. as new coronavirus cases soar. Slovenia, which holds the rotating presidency of the EU and is currently responsible for triggering an assessment of countries that are allowed non-essential travel into the bloc, recommended that the U.S. be removed from the list, according to 2 officials familiar with the plans. The U.S. has had 500 new COVID-19 cases per 100,000 inhabitants over the previous 14 days as of August 15th, according to the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control. That's well above the limit of 75 set out in the EU guidelines. The rules also specify that the trend of new cases should be stable or decreasing, and that no more than 4% of those tested for the virus are positive. The guidelines also take into account whether variants of concern have been detected in the nation concerned and whether a country has reciprocated in opening travel. The guidance from the bloc is a recommendation, and any decision on who to let in and what restrictions to impose ultimately rests with the governments of each member state. While countries have largely followed the EU guidelines, there have been times when individual nations have diverged from them. The latest proposal recommends removing several other countries, including Israel, said the officials, who asked not to be identified because the discussions are private. The discussions are private, yet they are sitting there making rules for basically the whole world, whether or not to allow people into the EU, as well as the latest proposal recommends removing several other countries, including Israel. Israel has an 80% vaccination rate or something like that, something extremely high. Not much to say on that other than make sure you ask your doctor before you get a COVID test. Or make sure you ask your doctor before you get the vaccine. Make sure you talk to them, because that's YouTube's guidelines. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, drop a like, drop a sub down below, drop a comment, let me know how I'm doing, let me know what I can do to improve, and thanks for staying plugged in. Peace out, boys.